Hey, so before I start my meditation, I wanted to talk about a really cool dream I had last night. Just now, they were super vivid. The first one, I was at a big conference, and I forget what it was for. It wasn't for Dr. Dispenza, but Harrison Ford was there, and somehow I ended up seeing him in the hall and talking to him casually about meditation and like the quantum field and Dr. Dispenza's work. And so we met and we talked about that, and he talked about how much he loved it, and he had another book that was about meditation, and he was like, yeah, you should try this too. So we talked about that at length, and it was just like, it was cool. That's basically, it was one of those dreams that's very vivid and feels real. And then I had another dream after that, that I was at a Dr. Dispenza conference, and I kind of had, it was like the first opening conference, and I had kind of come in late, and I was like, I squeezed to the back, and then a few seats in the front opened, and I was there with my grandma and my aunt, and so we kind of moved up towards the front, and like first thing I moved to the front, he looked at me and he was like, he was like looking like into my soul, and I was like, oh shoot. And he was like, he kind of called me out at the conference. He said, hey, and he was like, I've seen you before. And he's like, I didn't see you up earlier. And he was like, welcome. And I was like, oh my God. I was like embarrassed. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't stand this. And he's like, yeah. And he starts talking to me. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like in front of the conference. And then he has like a car in front of the conference. And he's like, he has his car door open, and he's trying to like illustrate a point or something. And he says, all right, guys, he says, sometimes something like, to take a ride to the quantum field, you have to get in. And he's like, get in. And so like some of his assistants get in the car, and then he looks at me, and I'm like, do I get in? Do I not? Because he'd been talking to me in front of the audience. And so like I kind of get up, and like I go to climb in the back, and he looks, he says, oh, we already went on the trip. And I'm like, wait, what? He's like, yeah, it was in the quantum field. And I'm like, okay. And so I sit back down, and then there was a moment where he like looked at me, and he just was like this, like right into like my eyes and stuff. And it just was like, it felt like a super connection. It was very vivid. Like he had a gray shirt on, and yeah. I mean, I don't really remember the content of conferences. It was like obviously one of his advanced workshops, but it was so cool. So I was like, I have to talk about that before my meditation, because to be honest with you, the past few days, I've been doing my meditations every day, but the past 2 days have been kind of like crappy meditations. I was telling my husband this yesterday, because I've been like tired. I went to bed late, and I had some meetings like with a group I'm involved in and stuff that were sort of like emotionally charged in a good way, and I was just excited and distracted and tired, and so the meditations, I wasn't like physically, not physically, but emotionally feeling them, I was waking up and not feeling changed. It was these past two particularly, and when you connect, and when your meditation is crap, and the past two weren't so great. So this has been a really nice way to kind of like motivate me and get me to keep doing it, because it felt so real. So I don't know, I'm excited. I just wanted to record that little bit and talk about it, and now I need to start my morning meditation.